Hey there, it's a quiet Wednesday night in San Francisco. It's about 50 degrees. The fog is starting to roll in. You can't see it too much from this angle, but if you look up at the street lights, you can kind of see the fog going by. Hasn't quite gotten down to ground level yet. We're sitting at the corner of Polk and Broadway, waiting to turn right on Broadway, and I figured, well, as long as we're here, why don't we go drive through some of the tunnels of San Francisco? San Francisco has a number of tunnels. A lot of them, however, are transit or train only and not for cars. There are a few that cars can drive through, and so we're going to drive through 3 of those. In particular, we're going to check out the Broadway Tunnel, the Stockton Tunnel, and the Geary-Masonic Tunnel. And we'll be editing out most of the driving between those tunnels and just concentrate on the tunnels themselves. Thanks for joining me, riding shotgun. Put on your seatbelt. I'm not going to be driving very fast, but we want to be safe, and it's the law. As we go around the corner here, you can kind of see the mist forming on the windshield from the fog. I did actually clean the windshield. It's not dirty. That's mist from the fog. It's starting to mist on us, even though the fog is a few, maybe 10-20 feet above us. The mist is coming down. First tunnel that we're going to go through, you can see coming into view, that's officially the Robert C. Levy Tunnel. Nobody really calls it that, of course. They call it the Broadway Tunnel because this is Broadway Street. This tunnel's about 4 blocks long. It's 1,616 feet, and it connects the Van Ness and Polk Gulch area, which is where we are, with North Beach and Chinatown over to the east. As you can see, it's a dual bore tunnel. There are 2 tunnels. There is a pedestrian walkway on the side. It's not a very pleasant walk. It's very noisy because of the hard surfaces in the tunnel. And of course, you're very close to the cars. Fortunately, you are elevated, which helps a little, and there's a metal railing, but it's still not a particularly pleasant walk to walk through this tunnel. As we reach the end of the tunnel here, you can see that there's actually a building that's built over the end of the tunnel, the eastern end, which sort of extends it and makes it seem longer. You can see right here where the tunnel ends, and you actually see the bottom of the building blocking the top of the tunnel. And that's why the tunnel will look a little different here, because we're actually going underneath a building and we're not actually in the tunnel anymore. As we pop out here, we're now over in Chinatown, and off in the distance is North Beach. And through the magic of video, we're going to go up and make a U-turn virtually. We've made our virtual U-turn. We're down in North Beach. We're heading back west now on Broadway towards the tunnel. Going past all the strip clubs and so on in North Beach. Here at the corner of Broadway and Columbus is the borderline between North Beach and Chinatown. We're leaving North Beach and we'll be heading into Chinatown and on up into the tunnel again. Although everybody calls it the Broadway Tunnel, the official name is the Robert C. Levy Tunnel. Mr. Levy was the city engineer and superintendent of building inspection for the city of San Francisco. I see there's a 12 Folsom bus making a wide turn off to the left. Hopefully he won't hit us. It looks like he made it. From this vantage point, you can see the building that's built over the eastern end of the tunnel. That building houses the Chinatown Public Health Center, by the way. Construction began on this tunnel on May 1st of 1950, and it opened on December 21st of 1952 and cost approximately $6 million to make. There are fans in this tunnel that provide fresh air. Those fans are so old now that they can no longer get spare parts. They're about to start a construction project to replace the whole ventilation system. From what I've read, it's actually pretty good because when the tunnel was built, cars polluted a lot more than they do now. And with the lesser amount of carbon monoxide that cars put out, the air quality in the tunnel is actually much better than it used to be, even with the old ventilation system. You may notice a few places where it looks like I'm driving sort of erratically, but that's not actually my driving. It's a weird artifact of the video stabilization software. It goes a little weird in a couple places here. So rest assured I'm not drunk and you're safe driving with me. And here's one of those spots right here where it looks like I kind of lose control for a minute. Whoa, but no, it's not me. You'll notice there's a pedestrian that braved the tunnel. And you'll also notice that there's a lot more mist from the fog over on this end of the tunnel because we're on the side of the hill closer to the ocean. And in general, the closer to the ocean you are and the higher you are, the more fog you're going to get. There you have it, the Robert C. Levy Tunnel. And now on to our next tunnel, the Stockton Street Tunnel. Let's review for a minute back at the Broadway Street Tunnel. When we went through the first time and we came out the eastern end of the tunnel, we emerged in Chinatown. If we continued down Broadway for just a couple of blocks and turn right on Stockton Street, we'll head towards our next tunnel that we're going to visit, which is not actually very far away. First, we have to make it through Chinatown at night, and Chinatown at night is dead. There's nothing going on. It's quite a contrast with the daytime. If you come through this area of Chinatown when everything is open during the day, it is jammed, and the sidewalks have millions of people on it, and there's all kinds of traffic, and there's a lot of buses trying to get through and so on. But at night, boy, they just roll up the sidewalks and it's deserted. So we're going to go through the deserted Chinatown here, and along the way, I'll tell you a little bit about our next tunnel, which is the Stockton Tunnel. This tunnel goes under a section of Nob Hill. It goes underneath two streets, California Street, including the California Street cable car line, and Pine Street, and it connects Chinatown to downtown. Construction started in June of 1913, and the tunnel opened on December 29th of 1914. The total cost of construction was $450,000. The workers were paid $3 a day for an 8-hour day, and one worker was killed by a cave-in. However, the cost of damage suits and legal fees was $195,000, and that's because this tunnel turned out to be much more difficult to build than they expected. It was originally supposed to be an easy tunnel to dig, but it turned out that the ground was very unstable. Because this was built shortly after 1906, there were not a lot of buildings above it, but there were some, and those buildings that were there kept having problems with settling. And in addition, the California Street cable car tracks kept buckling and had to be replaced over and over. Because of the unexpected unstable ground, the thickness of the tunnel lining had to be increased from what was originally planned to be 14 inches to 24 inches, and the amount of reinforcing steel was doubled. I'll try not to talk too loudly as we go through the tunnel here. Seriously though, I assume this is because human nature, people like to honk their horns in the tunnel and hear the echo, and I assume that is rather annoying to people who live near the tunnel. That sign looks fairly old. I wonder if this was a problem since the tunnel began in 1914. I don't know how many automobiles were going through the tunnel in 1914, but I'll bet some of them were honking their horn. There are pedestrian walkways on either side of this tunnel, and here you can see some people walking through tonight. This tunnel somehow feels more comfortable to pedestrians, even though you are at the same level as the traffic and you're only separated by this short little concrete barrier. Yet it still feels more comfortable than the Broadway Street tunnels, and I think that's because it's a wider tunnel, feels a little more spacious, and more importantly because the traffic in here tends to be going a lot slower than the traffic in the Broadway Street tunnels. Once we come out of the south end of the tunnel, we'll be in downtown. We'll go by the Union Square shopping area. Pretty quiet right now because it's late at night. Most of the tourists are probably back in their hotels or out having dinner somewhere. And speaking of tunnels, you probably noticed the somewhat impressive construction equipment straight ahead. That's part of the preliminary construction for the new Central T subway line, which is an underground subway that will come from south of Market all the way up to Chinatown. The construction we're looking at here is where the Union Square station will be, which is right here on the map. However, it will then continue on up to Washington Street in Chinatown. As we went by, you may have noticed some construction on Washington Street. That's to be the subway stop in Chinatown. The tunnel is to come underneath Stockton Street, so I guess it will be going underneath this tunnel that we just went through. So it's kind of interesting to think that this tunnel that we just went through, which was built in 1914, is now going to have a new tunnel going underneath it 105 years later, scheduled to be open in 2019, another tunnel going underneath. And let's hope that they've planned better for that tunnel than they did for this tunnel and they don't run into the unexpected problems. Now on to our third and final tunnel. This probably isn't really a tunnel, it's probably really just an overpass, but it was cut through the top of a hill sort of like a tunnel, and it looks and feels like a tunnel, so I'm going to call it a tunnel. I did see a few people here and there refer to it as the Geary-Masonic Tunnel, so I'm not the only one. This is Geary Street as it passes underneath Masonic, and we're going to start out heading in the westerly direction. I don't have much information about this tunnel. I believe it was constructed in the 1960s. During the automobile craze of the 1950s and 1960s, when there was a great desire to build freeways everywhere, brought us gems like the Embarcadero Freeway, now long since gone. Good riddance. There's no pedestrian access in this tunnel. I think they expect pedestrians to walk up above on Masonic on the overpass. As we come out the west end of the tunnel, you'll see the fog is definitely coming in now. We're further west and it's later at night, and we've come out the west end of the tunnel, so we're facing the ocean. So fog is much more prevalent here. Not sure how well this will show up once the video's up on YouTube and compressed, but hopefully you can see the fog billowing through overhead there. And off to the left you can see one of the articulated Muni 38 line buses. The Muni 38 line is one of the busiest Muni lines. According to 2008 statistics, it carries about 50,000 passengers per day. Once again, we're going to make a virtual U-turn and go back through the tunnel in the eastbound direction. And by the way, notice as we go by here this sign which says speed limit 35 in tunnel. So that means whoever made this sign agrees that this is a tunnel. So there, I'm vindicated. This is indeed a tunnel, officially, according to that sign. There used to be a lot of public transit along Geary Street, rail lines, trolley lines. It was quite a busy public transit corridor. That was all lost when Geary was transformed into the semi-freeway-like state that large portions of it are today. Ironically, they're now working on how to get that back, starting with a proposed bus rapid transit service along Geary. Well, that does it. That's our tour of 3 tunnels of San Francisco. Time for us to ride off into the fog. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next trip.